if we just met, where's the hook?
I got into real estate because I had so many bad transactions with other realtors that I didn't want to be a realtor. And that's why I'm the best realtor you can possibly have. I'll give you the best experience that you'll ever have because I went through all the bad ones. Like my best year, I had over 70 deals in 1 year. Last year was one of the slowest markets. I had my second best year. Everybody had the best year in 2021. But if you had your second best year in the worst possible market in the last 20 years, and you were still in the top 1% like I was, you're doing something right.
That's what I was looking for.
But you didn't say that.
I said, what do you do?
Yeah. Oh, so it's different. Yeah. Welcome to another episode of DC Talks with David Chinelli. I'm obviously David Chinelli, and I got an amazing guest with me today for episode 71. Today we have Kyle Guthrow. I always make sure I say your name right. That's why I checked beforehand.
You nailed it.
I nailed it. Yeah, it's not a hard name to get wrong. But
you'd be surprised. You'd actually be surprised how many times I've heard my name butchered, which, it comes with the territory.
Yeah. So I met Kyle, last week or so? And
we did,
Yeah,
yes.
There was a mutual friend of ours. And so I thought we were talking at the hockey game, at the Leaf game. Both avid Leaf fans. And depending on when this airs, hopefully the Leafs are still in the playoffs. And we just said, hey, Mike, you'd be great to be on my podcast. And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Honestly,
of course,
awesome.
Of course.
For such short notice too. It was pretty quick. So a little bit about yourself. So from your bio, you're an award-winning public speaker, a sales and communication coach, real estate investor, and you're a realtor as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not where you started.
No,
not at all. I think we had the cool thing is we both worked at, not rival hydro companies, but at the same time, I was working for Toronto Hydro and you're working for Hydro One. We have a lot of mutual friends. I thought that was pretty cool.
The synergies was like serendipitous. I was like, whoa, when we first met and we started talking about people we knew, I'm like, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of awesome. I was like, it just worked out that way.
Yeah.
So talk to my viewers a little bit about your journey. Where did you start and how did you get into public speaking? You're like even started the hydro days,
yep.
What happened? What happened? How did it start?
Yeah. So great question. Kind of the real estate and the hydro, my occupation, my past occupation started at the same time. So came out of university, right in the heart of the credit crisis. I know I'm aging myself, but right in the heart of the credit crisis.
2008, 2009?
I graduated in 2007. And my dad at the time was, well off, I guess you could say. And he was looking to diversify his portfolio. And he said, well, let's get into real estate. And I'll never forget it when he first said, he brought up the idea. And I'm like, you mean like being a landlord? He's like, yeah. I said, absolutely not. I just got out of 4 years of university. We absolutely kicked the living shit out of our poor landlord's house. We turned the walls into Swiss cheese. We turned these beautiful carpets into mud pits. And I just thought, there's no way I'm being a landlord. But when my dad kind of talked some more sense into me, it made it the right choice. Mm-hmm. And he just explained, like, listen, well, what do we got to lose? And I was so scared about being an actual landlord that I wasn't seeing the bigger picture.
Right.
So fast forward, I landed a great career, great job right out of the gate. I had the actual job offer before I even graduated.
And what was the job, if you mind me asking?
So I was responsible, which was kind of funny. I was a business analyst in the engineering department at Hydro One.
Damn.
Yeah. And
sounds fancy. Sounds fancy.
For someone that's not an engineer. And I was kind of shocked, but we were rolling out a new software called SAP. And it was monstrous.
Oh, yeah. We had to roll out in Toronto Hydro too. I remember. Yeah.
Just to give you a little bit of a snippet of the corporate background is that was a huge opportunity for me because I literally got thrown into the lion's den, and I'll never forget it because I was part of a team that rolled out this software. And with any new software, it's a behemoth and a lot of questions. So we had to do a lot of roadshows and presentations to the entire company, which has spanned all over Ontario, 7,000 employees. So now I'm in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And all these employees are like, who the hell is this guy? Like, where did you come from? And I'm explaining that I'm just this new graduate, just got into the company. So imagine trying to convince a 25-year vet, hey, this is the new SAP software you got to roll out. They looked at me like I had 6 cents.
So it's an accounting software. It's a huge, we had it at Toronto Hydro too, and then we had to roll it out, and then we weren't supposed to do it with Treasury, and now they're rolling it. It's huge. It literally touches every piece of the business. Like it's not a small task if you have all these other systems running. It takes years to roll this through, and to get people's buy-in is almost impossible.
And unbeknownst to me, that was kind of the starting gate of my public speaking, because we were putting the presentations together, and now I'm speaking in front of work groups that have 100, 200 people, and I'm getting berated by questions.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lot of like how to deal with an objection while you're on stage, while you're in front of people. So it kind of, the real estate corporate world and the public speaking all smashed together in that 2007 era. And fast forward into the real estate journey, a couple months later, my dad said, hey, let's go get that investment property. Prior to the credit crisis, market was really depressed. I'll never forget it. We bought first property in Hamilton Mountain, a bungalow. And we were kind of just going around door knocking. We were saying, hey, will you take 150? Door slammed. No. And we finally landed on an older couple that was selling their house. And we got into an agreement, bought the property. Needed a bit of work. It was a three bedroom bungalow. And we started renovating it. My dad is very handy, and I learned a lot of my tradesman skills from him growing up, watching him renovate stuff. So it was a good little pet project for us. But I was also working full time, commuting to downtown Toronto. And then I would come home right after work, grab a quick bite, and I would work from like 6 p.m. to midnight. Yeah. And I would do this every single night for like 2 months straight. Every weekend was consumed working on that rental property. Of course. My dad and I were doing everything. So again, I was learning all these skills. We get a tenant in. That was fun. Get a tenant in. And a month later, we get a phone call that there's water in the basement. A basement we just finished renovating.
Oh, no.
And I'm sitting there going, this can't be good. Pull a wall down, huge crack in the foundation. We didn't see it. Because when we bought the house and renovated, it was the middle of February, so everything was frozen.
Yeah. So on a side note for my followers, I tell this to my clients all the time. You can do as many home inspections as you want, but if you're buying a property in the middle of winter, the ground is frozen, you'll never know until it thaws out if you have a foundation issue. Yeah. So it's a good learning point right there.
And in that moment, I kind of said to my dad, like, what the hell did we get into? Oh, yeah. Like, I had the great job, and that was the first obstacle in real estate. $9,000 fixed later, something we weren't expecting. Yeah. And
back in those days, that's a lot of money.
That was waterproofing for one wall.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
But it was a great learning experience, and so kind of just kept plugging away at Hydro One. There was a great company to work for. They gave me so many opportunities to kind of climb that corporate ladder very quickly. Kind of made a name for myself in the company, and it just kind of got a lot of recognition. I started really climbing the corporate ladder faster than I anticipated. Jumped from the engineering group over to accounting. I'm not an accountant, so that work group was very
different,
troubling. And that's for someone such as you came from treasury. Yeah. But I learned so much about the corporate world and just the power of communication. I wasn't the smartest. I can promise you that. And in a room full of engineers, I got constantly questioned, where's your ring? And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Where's your ring? They were, where's your engineering ring?
Where's your PNG ring? Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm a business grad. And instantly they're like, well, how did you get in? So that kind of always behind the eight ball, just trying to work my way up and climb. And I was a ferocious student. Wherever I went, I would ask, okay, so how did this work? Why, how does the electrical grid work? Everyone was so off. They just focused on their work group. Whereas I'm like, okay, wait, how does accounting work? How does this? And then kind of fast forward into the corporate world, I got into a project management position where that was literally one of the best jobs I had. And because I was working with 300 plus people, my project budget ballooned into like almost $250 million. I had huge high profile projects that the province was looking down on. And it was stressful, but I enjoyed it because I'm a problem solver. And it was so cool that I got to one day work out in the field with construction guys. We're building transformer stations, millions upon millions of dollars to build these things. And then the next day I'm with a team full of engineers and I'm sitting in front of them, coordinating them. And in the back of my head, my Brock University days is going, did you ever think that you'd be leading a team of engineers?
Yeah, okay.
But what was beautiful about that was that I had to learn so many different communication styles.
Yeah.
You can't speak the same to an engineer or team of engineers as you can a team of construction people.
Yeah.
You can't speak to the CEO and C-suites the same as a team of accountants. So I found that I had this kind of little bit of a superpower where I knew to just resonate with each individual person.
Mm.
But what made it really fun was when we'd go into big project meetings and I literally would bring all the work groups together. And now I got PhD engineers talking to high school graduate construction guys. And a lot of times people butt heads, and it happens in these stressful environments. But I always reminded my team, guys, we're here for one common goal. And if you have a problem with your ego, please leave it at the door or we don't need you. And I always was trying to bring a cohesion of teamwork together.
Right.
And I felt like I was the conductor leading the orchestra. And again, just going back to that communication world is that you need to be able to speak to a variety of different people. And maybe if we have time, we'll dive into that, the communication and the coaching of what I do now. But I saw a huge gap in the corporate world. But how did I get out of the corporate world? And how did I get more into the real estate space? So
I thought I was supposed to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Well, first off, before you get into that, how long did this project last? Like how long were you at Hydro for?
I was at Hydro for 13 years.
Wow. So from 2007 to 2020?
Sorry, 12 years. 2007, and I left in 2019.
Yeah, and then so the public speaking, were you doing that on the side, or is that how it worked? So then, now, like, so how did you get into the public speaking space, and how did you pivot from Hydro to that?
So when I was in Hydro, we had a group called Toastmasters, and it's communication, public speaking, and
isn't it you meet once a week and then you teach and then you get together? So Toastmasters, we had it at Hydro too, I think, in which you had to public speak every single week, and there's a topic, and you had to talk about it to your fellow Toastmasters. Is that correct?
Yeah. And what was beautiful about that is I always just wanted to be part of everything. And for me to sit and just take a lunch break, that drove me nuts. It's like, oh, now how can I be productive? So when Toastmasters came in, and then they said, hey, we're starting this club in Hydro One. Who wants to be part of the leadership? I said, well, I'll put my hand up. So it was really cool to just kind of go through the Toastmasters journey. I got to coach and help a lot of the people that were terrified of public speaking. And as well, which was great, Toastmasters had a lot of competitions, and I'm a very competitive person.
Right.
So as soon as you got to compete against other speakers, I was obviously on board.
Yeah.
And I have that very competitive nature in me. It's like, I'm going to beat you. So what did I do? I studied, I practiced, I rehearsed, and I was always just finding different ways that my story or my talk or whatever it's going to be would beat somebody else. But there was a lot of humbling experiences with that as well, because as you move up in competitions in the Toastmaster world, it goes from your club to your district to the province to the country to global. And for those that don't know, just look up Toastmasters public speaking competitions. There's some pretty big ones. And I've competed in every single one of them. And there was times where you'd get to like what they call the district level, and you've competing against multiple cities. And I'll never forget going, man, I'm going against 10 speakers and 10 of them are phenomenal.
Shit.
So it just stepped up your game.
Yeah.
You're a product of your environment. And I learned so much from the actual communication and public speaking world from Toastmasters, but not so much from the judging of others, but actually the growth of myself in there.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Toastmasters had a big impact, and I was grateful that I had some good mentors in that world.
Right.
Won a lot of awards. Grateful for them. And I also lost a lot. And come in second place and come in third place, it stings.
Mm.
But it forced me to become better and beat that person the next time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they
and
cross.
from there you volley that into a job, into public speaking. So if somebody hires you, is there a niche you got into, like a certain topic you got into, or like how did that evolve from Toastmasters into like a career in that?
Well, so that world, the public speaking world was always there, and I was doing a lot of talks. at my past company. I would do lunch and learns,
Mm.
volunteer to do lunch and learns. I was always doing a lot of speaking with actually the job. And I had this real estate thing kind of just chugging along in the background. I was buying and acquiring homes. My kind of how I got into the investment world was, I don't want to say by accident, but it kind of was. I bought a new construction home in Stony Creek Mountain, 2010. I was going to move in with my then time girlfriend, and we broke up.
Hmm.
And I just said, I always wanted to live in downtown Toronto. And I was tired of commuting. And everyone knows Stony Creek to Toronto is not an easy commute.
It's not easy. It's worse now.
Yeah. And I just said, enough's enough. I'm going to move to the city.
Shit.
And my parents are like, wait, what are you going to do with your house? You just got a brand new house. I'm like, I'm going to rent it out. I had it rented out in a week.
Oh, damn.
And this is back in 2011.
And this is before you had your real estate license? Or
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't have my license yet.
Okay.
So I realized how quickly I was able to rent it out and how much I was able to cash flow it. So I went back to the developer and I said, hey, do you got any more of these? He's like, well, yeah, I got a second phase coming. I'm like, let me know. I'll buy some. So I ended up buying another one just down the street. And my brothers did the exact same thing.
Mm. So
my family bought 4 townhouses on literally within a 10 units or the same street.
Mm.
And this developer's like, okay, he's going to keep selling them to us.
Yeah.
And people don't know this. Back in 2011, if you had a heartbeat, the bank gave you a mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
It was, looking back, it was crazy how
and you
much
didn't have to put that much money down.
No.
I think Natalie and I bought
$20,000 down.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we bought our house. It was like $470. I think we had to put less than 5% down. We're like, are you sure? Like, and they gave us a 40-year amortization.
Yeah.
We're like, are you sure? They're like, yeah, it's fine. And this was like, yeah, because again, the banks didn't at that point. It was
pretty wild. And so what had happened was I saw early success from this, and I found the niche that it was new builds. And I was getting great AAA tenants in these brand new houses.
Yeah.
Follow the developers. I literally just kept following developers. He would say, okay, I have a new release coming out in Paris. All right. Don't know nothing about Paris, but if you're building, this is the great thing. And I always tell people, new construction doesn't work so great right now, but back then, developers don't go build 2,000 homes without doing their research.
That's right.
They've done the research. They know what's coming. And then sure enough, you're like, oh my God, a whole new city center is coming. Walmart. Like, I didn't know that. These guys all knew this.
Yeah. And there's also the Starbucks law, right? If there's a Starbucks being built in the area, you want to buy in that area because they've also done their research.
Yes.
They have like extensive. So follow the Starbucks is another good point.
And I just kept following developers and kept buying off them. So my family and I kept purchasing this brand new townhouse. It was the exact same model, same floor plan. I put the same upgrades in. They almost kind of all looked the same. Yeah. And just kept renting them out. So I kind of accidentally fell into real estate investing. And then now just kind of fast forward, I'm living in Toronto. It's great. I'm loving the actual energy of the city. But I can see the market shifting. Prices are starting to go up. Mm-hmm. And people are going to shoot me when I tell you how much I was buying brand new townhouses for in Stony Creek Mountain. My first townhouse was $231,000. Damn. At the peak of the market, it was hitting over 900. And again, I don't say that to impress, but rather impress upon that real estate, we experienced a huge, crazy run in the last 10 years.
Yep.
But now it's gotten really difficult. So I kind of pivoted. I had this communication background.
Which is on the side note there, before you get into that, just to give you context, we had Urbanation came to our to talk with us, and they're saying condos, for example, like right now to buy a pre-con, they're roughly $1,400 to $1,500 square foot for pre-construction, or resale. So it is now around $850. That's the shift. Crazy. That's crazy. It used to be the other way around. But anyway, like so that's what Kyle's saying too. It's like when we were we bought pre-construction, us as well, because you were getting a deal on them before because they were cheaper than the resales, because you were taking a chance on the builder. You were taking a chance on the floor plans. You didn't know how the property was going to look. You didn't know when it was going to be done. So you kind of were helping the builder. We're like, yeah, now everything's changed. Sorry.
And what else was really cool about that back then is the down payment structures were really low.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah.
And the wild thing is the developer that I was kind of buying a lot of properties off, they're like, oh, it's going to take 9 to 12 months to get built. I'm like, guys, you could take 2 years. I really don't care. Because by the time a lot of these things were built, they had already gone up $100,000 in appreciation.
That's right.
But those now in today's market, the builders are building the appreciation in, and they're charging future values. But
and construction costs have also gone through the roof, right? Again, like people don't realize with construction costs. We had Nick here too talking about the development costs. He's like, we still don't make that much money. It's like, so because the price has gone up too. It's like, well, the building costs. Like, remember a couple of years ago, they had the drywallers they had the strike and everything went up there with COVID, lumber costs and all everything went up. And it's like our actual margins didn't go up as much as you think, but it looks like in order to build these future values, and plus we have to hold on to the land, interest rates have gone higher, everything gets more expensive. So no wonder they're building it in there. But a lot of times some of these builders still aren't making a lot of money, believe it or not. So
So the communication world where it kind of got more full time was when in 2019 I made the decision to leave. I saw the writing on the wall. I was always an entrepreneur at heart. I knew the corporate world wasn't the end result. And I got an opportunity with an ex-business partner that he was like, do you want to start flipping homes? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with this.
I'm in for that.
You've got the construction background. I've got the investing, capital raising background. I'm like, I think we could be a good niche, good tandem. And he gave me kind of an ultimatum because I was doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, you're in or you're out. I said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. But at the time, and this is for all those that are looking to exit their corporate world to go into an entrepreneurial journey, stage it. And what do I mean by that? I gave myself a 1-year runway that I accumulated and saved so much money that if after I could survive an entire year without a paycheck. And that was very freeing because then if the business didn't do well or was struggling, I can continue to keep doing the lifestyle I had. I had just bought a cottage in Muskoka. I had a lot of expenses.
Right.
And so we were in the middle of flipping. What hits 4 months later? Global pandemic.
Yeah.
Now we're really panicking. And I'm sitting there going, why the hell did I just quit a very lucrative golden handcuff company to now be working on tools? Because trades weren't working, Home Depot was closed.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting there going, how am I swinging a hammer? This is not what I intended to do.
You actually were swinging the hammer?
Oh, yeah. We didn't have a choice. My business partner and I, we were blowing hundreds, almost thousands of dollars a day in interest payments on these flips. And I said, we can't get guys in.
Yeah.
People just did not want to work. I said, all right, looks like I'm hanging drywall.
Yeah.
I learned so much about construction, and I am grateful for that opportunity. I look back going, it humbled me so much because going from a white collar, comfortable in the office to now I'm like, oh, wait, why am I in a dumpster?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened? But it taught me so much about the trades world. It taught me so much about the construction world. Mm-hmm. It's a very stressful industry, and ended up having to take a break from it. My mental health was not good. I was very stressed. I was eating terribly. I was constantly on the road, and I was constantly fighting with people. And I'm like, this just isn't it. So I kind of, in that process, got linked up with a guy named Grant Cardone. And how Grant Cardone came to be was with my one business partner named Richard Dolan. He pitched to Grant, hey, have you ever thought of licensing your brand, like the 10X? And for those that don't know, Grant Cardone, if you Google him, I'm warning you, as soon as you do, you will be spammed by everything in every social media. But people either love him or hate him.
Yeah.
And we had this great opportunity that now I'm flipping homes. I'm working with Grant Cardone. We're flying back and forth to Miami during COVID, and we're doing this licensing program. So what do we have to do? Now I'm doing sales. So I'm, again, going back to wearing a man of many hats.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm passionate towards all of them. So when people say, hey, what about this? I'm not a person that can just sit at home, relax, and watch Netflix. I'm like, okay, looks like I'm cold calling people and doing Grant Cardone stuff. So again, now I'm getting on stages again. So communication's getting in the forefront. People are telling me, oh my God, you're a great communicator, you're a great public speaker. So I kind of get this crossroad where a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm sure, are faced. It's like, okay, which direction do I need to go?
Yeah.
And the real estate market started to turn. Interest rates were going up, grumblings. And I'm like, I'm not in love with construction. And I had to make the hard decision to kind of walk away from it. And my business partner and I thought it was best. We still have a great friendship. But I just knew it wasn't my true calling and path. Grateful all the things I experienced and learned. But now I focused more on how can I reach more people?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of, I don't want to say hit that midlife crisis because I'm nowhere near it, but I had to make that decision. Okay, who do I want to truly leave a legacy for?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I want to help? And communication was one of those things that I kept seeing time and time again. I'd go to networking events. I'd be at events in Florida with Grant. And I always found people struggled with speaking.
Right.
They struggled with networking. They struggled with being on stage. I'm like, there'd be countless people where I'd meet in Grant's ecosystem, great products, great services, but they just couldn't articulate the message to get it through. And I just
it's the old case of VHS versus beta. VHS was the superior product, but the licensing and how they got in front of people and how they communicated, that's why beta lost, right? And it's even though beta was a superior product, it was all about, they say it's marketing. Well, marketing is communication.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it came through. So sorry, I just thought I'd interject there. It's the same idea.
And I just kept seeing, I'm like, I can help this person. I can help this person get in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started kind of coaching and helping people. A lot of it was for free.
Mm-hmm.
Said, hey, let's jump on a 30-minute call. I said, pitch me your product. And not that I was going to buy it or invest in it, but I was listening for how can I fix this pitch?
Mm-hmm.
Because there were so many times that I would work with tech people and they always want to be the name and the face of their brand. I'm cool with that. But they'd go up on stage and I'd watch them and they'd start boring their audience with algorithms and data. And I'm like,
oh, dude,
you have a room full of angel investors. This is not the audience. So that's where I started really doubling down on communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting invited to do more podcasts, more talks. I actually got invited to speak at an event in Miami on dating, which I thought was pretty funny. A couple of years back, got clients out of that.
Did you get any dates out of it?
Yeah, I did actually. And I could say that because people are like, well, wait a second. What do you know about dating? 2020 was 2021. They were real turning points for me, just like I'm sure a lot of people did that suffered through that pandemic. I went through a breakdown in my marriage, had to move out, start all over again. And I've got now this business that's kind of chugging along. Home Depot's closed. It was a very stressful time.
Yeah.
I found solace in fitness, thank God. That was my saving grace. But when people are like, well, what do you know about dating? I said, well, I'm newly back in the dating space.
Yeah.
And I kept, my number one question I would always ask females on dates is, tell me about your worst date. And they would open up and they would share.
Yeah.
And what I started to learn and discover was so many people have great messages, but often when we're communicating, people aren't actively listening. They aren't intently present. Distractions of cell phones are a killer. But what I found was, man, if you can actually listen to people, you'll connect with them. And I started realizing this can be done in every industry. Real estate, sales, dating, construction. Mm-hmm. People just want to be heard. But the problem,
it's funny when you stop and you listen to people and they're not used to it.
Yes.
I just had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine who, like, he's my cigar guy, right? So it's like we have a cigar thing coming up, and I'm just talking. I'm just listening.
Oh, I want to be invited to that. By
yeah. Or you're gonna be a dad. So yeah. And it was so funny because and I'm sitting there, I'm listening. I'm like, going on. He's like, "Are you still there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm listening." He goes, "Oh," he goes, "I'm like, I'm listening to your pitch. Like, what cigars do you suggest we do for our Father's Day event?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just listening." He goes, "Oh, I didn't hear anything on this side." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm letting you talk." But it's so weird. And I'm actively listening with people. Just they get there like, are you there? I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I'm like, when you're over the phone, it's funny, but people aren't used to other people actively listening to them. They're looking for opportunities to jump in.
Yes.
Yeah. And say that, like, so yeah.
The big thing I would say, and this has worked really well, I tell people when they're about to unload on me, a rant, something they're dealing with, because men are guilty of this one. Not so much women, but men are really guilty of this one. Do you want me to listen to solve? Or do you want me to listen so that you are heard?
I ask that to Natalie all the time. I'm like, okay, do you want me to give you an answer? She goes, no. I'm like, okay, just tell me. You want me to just listen? I'll ask her right in the middle of a rant. Yeah.
Because as men, we want to just jump in and be like, okay, this is what you got to do. And they're like,
if you do this, you can do that. And then they're like, I don't want to do any of that.
And guess what they say? My husband, my spouse, my partner, they don't listen because they aren't. We're thinking of the answer in our head to solve the problem. And I've found the biggest breakdowns were in communication. We're not actively listening. People speak too much sometimes, especially in the negotiations world. People just don't shut up. I blame a little bit of social media. Social media gave everyone a megaphone.
Oh God, yeah.
And everyone's vying for attention, which is true. But at the same time, when you can come up to an individual and actually listen to their pain points, and you then now understand what that problem is, you can solve it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't even need to solve it. Sometimes we're smart species. By us just talking, we'll come in a circle and the person keeps talking. They're like, at the beginning of the conversation, like, I need advice. And as they keep speaking more and more, you start realizing they solved their own problem in the conversation.
It was funny you say that. I had a conversation with my assistant. Well, it's my buying agent now. She's assistant until my other assistant comes back from mat leave. And she was getting anxiety. And I said, you can always just come and talk to me, and just sit there. And she goes, just the process of explaining what she was anxious about. By the time of the conversation, I didn't even have to say anything. Right. And she's like, I just felt better talking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's all you need to do sometimes. Yeah. I'm like, listen, just come front, like, we're friends as well. We're like, like, as much, I'm like, I don't treat like the situation as a boss and employee, but their own solution sometimes is just orating it.
Right.
Putting it out there. And like, you're right. And you're just saying like, oh, what am I so worried about? It's not only just solving a problem. Sometimes it's just like feeling a problem. Right. Like, talk with somebody. Like, that's why therapists usually work.
Yeah.
I say usually, who knows now, but I'm like now there's like, anyway,
think about that. You're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for someone to just kind of listen. Yes, they're problem solvers, but this is why I'm so passionate towards communication, because I see so many breakdowns, and it's not just speaking from stage. I see it breakdowns in networking. So when I'm coaching a lot of my clients, a lot of them are real estate agents. Some of them are sales professionals, nutrition and fitness industry. And I often explain to them, okay, walk me through your sales process. A little bit of the Grant Cardone world comes in, and I learned so much about sales from Grant. And whether you love him or hate him, you got to admit, this guy's one of the best sales trainers in the world.
Yeah, he's great.
And one of the best marketers in the world. I am biased, but again, learned a lot from him. But I realized there is gaps between sales and communication. And if I can be the bridge that brings those two together, I can really help a lot of clients, because without money, your business dies. But if you can't communicate your message, you don't get any money. Therefore, your business dies. So when I get to work and help a lot of clients in the corporate world, leadership space, sales, real estate, I just refine it. I'm not sitting there going, I'm going to revamp your pitch, but I'm going to refine it. Like, I'll give you an example. Can I put you on the spot?
Sure.
In 30 seconds or less.
Oh, no.
Tell me if we were to meet at a networking event, 30 seconds or less, what do you do?
I solve problems is what I do. In 30 seconds or less, though, I solve problems in the sense that I help people that need help with their housing. So whether it's in an investment property or whether it's, family situation, whether it's divorce, a new baby, whatever it is, they come to me and say, hey, I have a situation I need your help with. And I'm a problem solver. And that's what I do. And I do it to best ability. Sure, you can earn some money along the way. That's not always my goal. My goal is to solve your housing situation.
Okay. Can I provide some feedback?
Sure.
How long have you been an agent?
9 years.
from our brief discussions, you've done very well. You've
Mhm.
transacted in a lot of homes.
Mhm.
Do you have a number of how much you think you've transacted in over? You don't maybe need to share with your audience, but
No,
like,
I don't. I actually don't. I never have like.
so that's a takeaway for you.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to explain this is because where's the hook?
Mhm.
Where's the call to action? See, as Canadians, I find two things.
Well, you asked me what I did. You didn't ask me
Correct.
as a hook. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if we just met, where's the hook? If we just met,
Oh, that's a different story.
You solve people's problems. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But what if you were to say, hey, you know what? I've been in real estate for 9 years. My company, myself, is transacting.
So that's different. So if I had a sales pitch, I know we have to start wrapping. So if you came to me and you said, hey, so talk to me about yourself, it was like, I always pitch myself. So I'm a realtor, but I don't do real estate like anybody else does. I got into real estate because I had so many bad transactions with other realtors that I didn't want to be a realtor. And that's why I'm the best realtor you can possibly have. I'll give you the best experience that you'll ever have because I went through all the bad ones. And sure, I'm the top 1%. I've been in real estate for the last 9 years since I've been doing this. Why is that? Well, that's because I put myself in your position. I've been where you are at, and I'll make sure you don't go through any of those problems that I've been through. Like my best year, I had over 70 deals in 1 year. Last year was one of the slowest markets. I had my second best year. Everybody had the best year in 2021. But if you had your second best year in the worst possible market in the last 20 years, and you were still in the top 1% like I was, you're doing something right.
That's what I was looking for.
But you didn't say that.
I said, what do you do?
Oh, so it's different. Yeah. But I
wasn't asking for a sales. Right. I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah.
See, so many people withhold their results. I'm not sitting there saying thou shalt brag and boast. What I'm saying is a lot of times Canadians, and I know I'm broad brushing, but Canadians can be cheap and chicken. What do I mean by that? They're cheap with what they give out, and they're chicken with delivering out the result. Whereas Americans, and I know I'm putting them all in the same broad brush, but I found, especially spending a lot of time in South Florida, they brag from the mountaintops. And it's good. That sales world, it's like, you know what, they did one deal, and next thing you know, I'm the best real estate agent ever. It's like, whoa. So I find sometimes I feel like we as Canadians, we can really start putting a spotlight on our result, but it's about your delivery.
Correct.
If I were to say I'm the best real estate agent in the city, it can come off as boastful and bragging. But if you said, hey, just the way you did it, very subtly, I'm in the 0.1% of real estate agents in all of Canada. So what does that mean? That means that I hit a certain threshold in terms of transactions. That means I hit a certain deal flow. I've transacted in over $500 million worth of real estate. That's not bragging.
A lot more than that.
That's why I asked you that question. Yeah. So if you know that answer, that definitely helps. Because guess what that does? That paints the picture of who you are. Grant did this. Grant be like, I own 12,000 multifamily units. I have over $4 billion worth of real estate. His the way he says it is different. It's very flashy. But you can't deny the result.
Right.
You can't deny that result. He did it. So that means that if you can, I tell people, focus on the result. So if your app is going to revolutionize a communication industry or a tech industry, you need to tell people that. Too many times people withhold who they truly are. Oh, I'm a real estate agent. Okay, there's 77,000 other real estate agents in Toronto. What's going to make you stand out? It's okay to have a little bit of a humble brag and boast. And that's where I got into the communication space, because I can help my clients really showcase who they are. And it's hard sometimes as Canadians because we withhold that.
Yeah.
But it all comes to the way you deliver your message and who you truly are. And I can say this as a humble brag. If people do not use me in communication as a coach, I am doing them a disservice. That's how much I believe in my product or service. I know unequivocally that I can transform people in terms of communication. I have so much of that knowledge, experience, background that I know even the best speakers in the world, I know I can find something, because guess what I'm going to find? I'm going to look for your pain point. And as soon as I find out that pain point, I'm going to solve it. Too many people try to fix too many things at once. Back to my male female conversation. We're men. We're trying to solve too many things. Just find out what that one pain point, and if I could solve it, what would that do for your business? What would that do for you personally, professionally? And then go from there.
Well, that's a good way to end. Well, we went a little over time. I understand, but I didn't want to I didn't want to stop you from going because there was a lot of good stuff there. So like, honestly, Kyle, this was awesome. I appreciate that. This was amazing. For somebody who wants to know where to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out towards you?
I'm very active on social media. My handles are all the same at Kyle Guthro, KYLEGUTHRO. I do a lot of cool content on Instagram. I show a lot about my personal side as well, my fitness journey. I do cold plunges. I've had some cold plunges that went pretty viral, which were kind of cool. I don't want to give anything away, but just go check them out. They're pretty funny. And then very active on social media. I'm sure there'll be my link to my website and everything in the show notes. But we usually link your IG, and then they can follow you along there. It's probably the easiest thing for you. Usually we do, and then you talk to Owen about all those. You'll help out. So guys, thank you again. Thanks, Kyle, for gracing us with your presence. This was awesome, guys. As you know, like we always like you to like and subscribe if you like what you've heard. Share this podcast with your friends. Share with everybody who might use Kyle as a public speaker. Again, he can help you with all aspects of your business, and I think that is invaluable. And for us, we like you to like, subscribe, you even send a comment, anything to help us along. We're always there to help. So if you have any questions or anything you want us to talk about, put in the comments, and we'll see if we can answer your questions, or we can talk about some of your topics on our podcast. Until next time, thanks again, Kyle. Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.